Yeah, so as Carl says, my name's Ben. I'm a freelance designer from Manchester, and one of my favourite pastimes is bird watching. This was an interest that I picked up from a teacher at primary school, and I'm finding myself drawn back to it as a hobby the older I get. And I've been wanting to do a talk on it for a while, so tonight's theme gives me the perfect opportunity. So I'm sure most of you know that some birds migrate, that swallows arrive in the UK in the summer, have to spend in the winter in Africa, or that flocks of geese migrate to the UK in the winter to feed. But actually around 40% of the world's bird species migrate in some way. But why do they do it? So as with a lot of migration, the driver is survival. It might be for better breeding conditions in the summer, or better feeding grounds, or to find warmer winters. Their instinct is to do whatever it takes them to survive. So for many birds, that means mammoth journeys twice a year for their entire lives. Around half the species we see in the UK migrate in some way. So some seasonal migrants might spend the summer here or the winter, while others migrate to lower altitudes from upland areas in search of food. And some, known as passage migrants, stop in the UK on the way to somewhere else. But even the common birds that we see all year round here might have their population boosted at some point by visitors from elsewhere. Many blackbirds are joined in the winter by other birds from Eastern Europe, for example. But each bird's migration journey is a little bit different. So I've selected a few stories to talk you through today. This is a swift, and although they're not related, swifts are quite similar to swallows in that they spend the winter in Africa and the summer here. They exploit warmer weather to feed on insects, so perhaps it's quite understandable that actually when they get to the UK, they only spend 3 months here. They're often the last spring migrants to arrive and the first to leave. But the most incredible thing about swifts are that they spend almost their entire lives in the air. The only time that they actually land is at their nests during the breeding season, which means that they also sleep when they're flying. And as the name suggests, they're quite quick. So one individual was recorded taking just 5 days to fly 3,100 miles from West Africa to the UK. And the oldest recorded swift was 18 years old, which means it might have flown around 4 million miles in its lifetime. But unfortunately, with modern building methods, are denying swifts the spaces in gables and arches that they need to build nests. So we've actually lost over half our population in the last 20 years. This is a DUNLIN. They have a lot more complex relationship with the UK. As wading birds, they're commonly found around the coasts and estuaries. There's actually 11 different races of DUNLIN worldwide. 3 of them visit us here in the UK, but all at different times. So this means that although you can see the birds here all year round, they're actually all on very different journeys. One race breeds here and leaves us in the winter. Another stops here on its way from Greenland through to West Africa. And 700,000 birds that breed in Scandinavia and Russia spend the winter with us. But just to complicate matters a little bit further, all these birds travel at different times depending on their age and their sex. So once the eggs have hatched, the female birds actually leave the males to raise the young. And once the young can look after themselves, the males then leave and wait for the young birds to set off when they're ready. So from a complex migration to a bit more of a mammoth journey, Arctic terns actually get 2 summers every year because they migrate from their northern breeding grounds to the Antarctic coast and then back again 6 months later. So Arctic terns see more daylight than any other creature on the planet. Their population can be very sensitive to changes in their environment. One Irish sea colony is totally vanished this year, potentially as an indirect result of the coronavirus crisis. But they're also great wanderers and they don't take the most direct route for the migration. So one bird that was ringed in Northumberland reached Melbourne just 3 months after it left the nest, which is a journey of over 14,000 miles. So it's no surprise that on such long journeys, some birds can get lost or blown off course and end up in surprising places. This robin popped up in China last year, which is only the 3rd time that one's been recorded in that country. And the UK has recently seen a bit of an influx of this bird, the ROSY STARLING. They breed in Central Asia and Southeast Europe, and when the food is plentiful and the temperatures favour them, they venture further across Europe, with a number of birds turning up here this year. So if you keep your eyes out when you're out and about, you might see one of those. some birds venture a little bit further when they've exhausted the food stocks in their natural habitats. So every 10 years or so, we get an influx of these birds, waxwings. They visit us in search of more berries when the stocks are low in Scandinavia. But unfortunately, along with natural threats, migrating birds face threats from human interference as well. Every year, an estimated 25 million birds are hunted on their journeys across Europe and Africa, such as this robin, which has been caught in a glue trap. Illegal hunting is rife across the migration routes of many birds, including across the Mediterranean, Northern Europe, and birds are hunted illegally for food, predator and pest control, and sport. So combined with their struggles and habitat loss, many bird populations simply can't cope with the threats. And 1 million turtle doves are killed every year, which has seen their global population decline by 30% since the year 2000. So there's lots of important work being done at the moment to fight these illegal practices. BirdLife International have conducted a number of vital pieces of research and are raising money to help the many species in danger. A few slides isn't enough for me to touch on all the issues or all the species that are at risk, so you can find out more at flightforsurvival.org. And if you missed that, I'll put it in the chat in a moment. But I think recently we've all learned to appreciate the outdoor space a little bit more and the wildlife within it. So hopefully this talk will inspire some of you to look a little bit deeper into the stories of the birds that you see out and about and what they might have been through to get to that point. Thank you.